Right now on Morning News Now, millions of people waking up facing the threat of potentially violent weather. The same system already hammered the central and southern plains, bringing rain, hail, and possible tornadoes. We are tracking the latest as the storm shifts east. Also this morning, the World Central Kitchen says they will pause operations in Gaza after 7 of its members were killed in an Israeli airstrike. What we've learned about the attack and a separate airstrike that Iran says killed one of its senior military commanders in Syria. Donald Trump's legal troubles are once again taking center stage after he posted a $175 million bond in his civil fraud case. But his financial battle is far from over. Where things go from here, plus why the judge presiding over his upcoming criminal trial is expanding a gag order. And life in the fast lane, how a gamer turned NASCAR star is making history on the track and claiming his first major checkered flag. It really is an amazing story. Video gaming is how we kind of learn to actually drive a race car.
That is, I have neither skills, so I can barely just normally drive a car. Good morning, good to have you with us. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. Thanks for joining us this Tuesday morning. We're going to get started this hour with a major storm system making its way across the country. In Northern California, near the Nevada border, several feet of snow have blocked roads and made travel nearly impossible. And then a little further south in Big Sur, raging floodwaters caused a landslide, as you can see here, that washed away part of this highway Monday afternoon.
The federal government Storm Prediction Center issued this year's first level 4 out of 5 risk for severe weather in parts of Oklahoma and North Texas. Overnight, the area around Dallas was hit with golf ball-sized hail, damaging homes and businesses and bringing down power lines. And in Oklahoma, this suspected tornado was spotted just northwest of Oklahoma City. Forecasters are expecting more funnel clouds throughout the week.
For a closer look, let's get a check on your Morning News Now weather.
Meteorologist Angie Lassman joins us now with the forecast. Angie, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. You said it. We've got another chance for some of that really difficult weather today, potentially becoming strong to severe when it comes to tornadoes, hail, wind gusts, some flooding. It's all on the table. Here's the deal right now. We wake up to some folks under this tornado watch. You can see it extends across much of parts of the Ohio Valley. We've got some warnings up right now as well, and just a really robust line of thunderstorms that's going to continue marching its way to the east across this region through the day today. We're also going to start to see plenty of rain working through even as we look a little farther to the east. That's why we've got these flood watches up right now, 16 million people included in those, from Indianapolis to Pittsburgh and down towards Charleston, including Cincinnati too. And what you see in the blue and the pink and the white, those are winter alerts. We've got 4 million people in those alerts at this hour, parts of New England, parts of the Great Lakes, as we see the potential for some snow and difficult travel in those regions over the next day or so. Here's the deal with the system. It's going to eventually work its way a little farther to the east. Today, the biggest thing that we're going to watch for, those dangerous thunderstorms as they march east. We're also going to watch for that snow that I mentioned, along with some gusty winds. It's going to make travel difficult across this region, and we'll start to see some of that snow and the wintry mix working into parts of New England as we get into tomorrow. Here's the afternoon and evening areas that I really want you to pay close attention to. Places like Cleveland, all the way down to Mobile, have a good chance of seeing some of these stronger storms develop. Where you see the orange and the red, though, that's where we're watching for the greatest potential for those long track tornadoes, those larger, stronger tornadoes. EF2 or higher, places like Columbus, Lexington, Nashville, Tupelo, Birmingham, all included in that area that we're specifically going to watch to have all the ingredients here as we get into the afternoon and evening hours to see some of those develop. Of course, a much bigger area is included in that, the Atlanta Metro, Montgomery, out towards Roanoke. As we go through the afternoon, the potential, again, still there to see the hail as well as the gusty winds up to 70 miles per hour. The rain is going to be a big issue, too, and it's going to be repeated rounds across much of parts of the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. We'll see a couple of strong storms tomorrow from New Jersey to Florida, but the severe risk isn't quite as robust as what it is today, but it's not zero, so there's that. We've still got the heavy snow and the winds across parts of New England and the Great Lakes. You're not done with the snow just yet. We'll see that last, unfortunately, even into Thursday. It'll be chilly behind this system, too, and we'll be picking up a good substantial amount of not just rain, but some snow, too. Here's that rainfall forecast, though, as we get through Thursday. The bullseye for the highest amounts, 1 to 3 inches, is going to be across places like New York and Pennsylvania, where we'll see those higher amounts, but still quick, heavy downpours not going to be out of the question. So some flooding in those localized roadways and ponding on those areas is not going to be out of the question either. I mentioned the snow and the winds. This is going to give us the potential to see those blizzard conditions in some of these areas. I know it's April and this is not what you want to hear, but unfortunately parts of New England will have to deal with that as that really powerful April storm system moves away, guys. It leaves some winds and some chilly conditions in its wake, hence the reason that we're concerned for the blizzards. But we've also got those strong storms on the table for today. So a lot for people to keep track of.
Busy day for you. All right.
Indeed. Certainly.
Thanks,
Angie, thank you.
Presidential primaries are taking place in multiple states today, including Wisconsin and New York.
Yeah, but we're focusing in on the key battleground state of Michigan, which President Biden took by over 150,000 votes back in 2020. Well, presumptive Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump is holding an event in Grand Rapids later today where he is expected to speak about immigration and border policy.
NBC News correspondent Shaquille Brewster is in Grand Rapids for us this morning. So, Shaq, Trump is back campaigning after more than 2 weeks off the trail. Talk to us about what he's expected to say today. Why is he giving this speech on immigration in Michigan?
Hi there, and good morning to you. Yes, we'll hear Donald Trump talk about an issue we hear him talk about a lot, and that is immigration. I'm told he'll have a roundtable discussion where we'll see elected officials, local party leaders, and members of law enforcement present, and then Donald Trump will come out and give remarks to members of the media. And, you know, we can expect to hear, according to his campaign, at least based on their signals, we'll hear a lot about a woman named Ruby Garcia. She's a 25-year-old woman from Grand Rapids who police say was killed by her boyfriend last month by someone who is in the United States illegally and was deported back to Mexico back in 2020. It's a case that Republicans here in the Grand Rapids area have brought up repeatedly, although it's important to note that Ruby's sister, Maria, has said that she doesn't like how her sister's death is being caught up in this political debate, guys.
Shaq, how are voters there responding to Trump's rhetoric on immigration? Tell us broader what you're hearing.
Yeah, good question, because this is a county, Kent County, that we've been focused on extensively and will be focused on through the election. It's a county that President Joe Biden flipped in 2020 after it was traditionally Republican in the past. And I want you to listen to what moderate voters, including people who voted for Donald Trump in the past, had to say.
No, you know, as I said, sadly, this world is broken. And that stuff happens no matter if you're a U.S. citizen or you're an immigrant.
There's definitely a problem at the border, but there doesn't seem to be a kind of a clear discussion of the issues that could be a good solution to that.
With the immigration and the problem at our border, it really needs to be in control. I have no problem with anybody coming over, but it would be great to have the paperwork and being able to make sure that we're not letting all the criminals come over.
And in each of those conversations, I brought to those voters directly what we can expect to hear from Donald Trump today. And you see that mixed reaction. It's a sign and reminder that as we shift from the primary election to the general election, the audience and the people that Donald Trump will need to win over will also change.
So, Shaq, what are we hearing from Democrats there about Trump's visit to Grand Rapids?
Yeah, they're saying he's politicizing the death of Ruby. They're saying that it was Joe Biden who proposed and who supported a bipartisan border security proposal that Donald Trump ended up killing back in January. And then you have local Kent County Democrats with this statement here. I want to pull it up on screen. They're saying that Trump chooses not to honor her memory as a victim of domestic violence, but rather of that of her killer, who happens to be an undocumented immigrant. They go on to say Ruby Garcia died because her boyfriend had an illegal gun, regardless of her immigration status. Again, Ruby's sister is frustrated that this has kind of gotten wrapped up in the political debate. Donald Trump has said on a radio show that he would like to see her family, or at least is extending the invitation for her family to go to the event. No word on whether or not we'll see them there.
All right, Shaq, thank you so much.
Well, meanwhile, former President Trump's legal troubles are again in the spotlight this morning. Trump has posted a $175 million bond in his New York civil fraud case. The bond was reduced from the original $464 million judgment that was set to be due on March 25th.
Back in February, a judge found Trump and his company committed business fraud in a civil suit brought by New York Attorney General Letitia James. Now, looking ahead, Trump's criminal hush money trial is set to begin April 15th, and the judge judge presiding over that case is now expanding a partial gag order. This follows the former president's online attacks against the judge's daughter. Trump is now barred from attacking the judge's family members and relatives of Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg.
NBC News legal analyst Danny Savalos joins us now to break this down. Danny, good morning. So let's get started with the bond posted in the New York civil fraud case. So we know Trump's lawyers had appealed that $464 million. Now that's making its way through the courts. Where does that appeal stand? And tell us what happens either way here, if he wins, if he loses.
Well, now they brief the issues, and the case hangs out in the appeals court until the appeals court decides the issue. Maybe they have oral argument. But the bottom line is it's going to be pretty quiet at the appellate court now that the bond has been posted. That means that the Attorney General cannot begin enforcement proceedings. And Donald Trump really got a break here because ordinarily you have to post a bond as a condition of appealing the case, with the idea being that you can't spend all your money that you would have given to the plaintiff by appealing your case and then have nothing left at the end of the appeals. So this will proceed like any other appeal of a judgment, and Trump's going to try and make the argument of different legal issues on appeal, just like any other appellant does in the state court system.
Let's talk about the hush money case, which is set to go to trial shortly. Of course, he's accused of falsifying business records related to these alleged hush money payments to Stormy Daniels. He's pleaded not guilty, but this partial gag order, which has now been expanded. Any surprise it's been expanded, considering what the former president was saying about the judge's daughter?
Yes and no. I originally did think that the Judge Merchan in this case may have omitted himself on purpose as kind of like a noble, hey, you can make fun of me, just don't make fun of all these other people. But apparently Judge Merchan thought enough was enough and decided to expand the order. He can still, as I understand the order, the judge himself can be criticized, but any one of us can imagine, given the opportunity to protect our family members from this kind of vitriol, that we would do it. By the way, I have to add that there may be an argument, although Judge Merchan's already dismissed the original recusal motion, but there may be circumstances where a family member may be so closely involved, say, with the Democratic Party, that you could have a recusal motion or a motion to be made by your attorneys. But what Trump did instead is take to social media and attack family members. That's really what this gag order is about. It does not prevent issues arising later that might justify a recusal motion. It just prevents him from getting on social media and possibly polluting a jury pool or intimidating witnesses or intimidating family members.
Also in this hush money case, so we're hearing from a source with direct knowledge, NBC News has learned about somebody that potentially is a witness here. This is former White House Communications Director Hope Hicks, expected to be a witness for the prosecution. How important would that be?
Yeah, I'm fascinated by this because she came in with her attorneys to talk to prosecutors about a little over a year ago. And we don't know exactly what she told them. But the way I see this is that Trump factually, at least, has denied this hush money payment. And Michael Cohen is really the government's, or I should say, the people's star witness against Donald Trump. So it may be the case that Hope Hicks is just sort of a foundational witness. Maybe imagine, for example, a meeting where Trump says, close the door, I want to talk to Michael Cohen. And Hope Hicks saw that. She may not have any actual incriminating information, but she may set up the scene. The other possibility is that Trump flat out told her, hey, I'm making these hush money payments to Stormy Daniels. That just doesn't seem as likely to me, given how Trump denies and denies and denies in the face of overwhelming evidence to the contrary. So it may be that Hope Hicks is just a foundational witness, someone who sets the scene, but maybe she's someone that Trump confided in, and maybe that's the information that she has. I still think Michael Cohen's going to be the state's star witness here.
Yeah. Danny Savalos, thank you.
Today marks 1 week since a cargo ship slammed into Baltimore's Francis Scott Key Bridge. Already, officials say crews have opened a narrow channel, giving recovery vessels access to the scene. NBC News correspondent Aaron Gilchrist reports.
Authorities battling more bad weather and the urgent mission to get a portion of the Baltimore port back open, announcing a temporary channel now complete.
It will help us to get more vessels in the water around the site of the collapse.
We were out on the water with the Coast Guard. With this temporary shipping channel now open, we're seeing one of the first ships to go through. Off in the distance here, a barge being pushed by a tugboat. The operation in full swing 6 days after the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed when a container ship struck one of its pillars. We know crews were out this weekend with cutting torches, slicing these pieces of metal. You're looking at now some of the first pieces that were cut, and they're waiting to be removed. The new 11-foot deep temporary shipping lane expected to allow only vessels essential to salvage operations. More than 370 engineers, technicians, logistics experts, and others working around the clock. The plan, clear the bridge wreckage from the channel, stabilize the dolly, remove the bridge span from its bow, and eventually remove some cargo containers so the massive ship can be refloated and brought back to port. All of this expected to take weeks at least.
We're going to move as rapidly as possible, but we're going to continue to do it safely.
Every day the port remains closed could have a major impact on both the supply chain and the 8,000 jobs that directly depend on this busy waterway being open. 140,000 workers have some connection to this shipping hub.
It stung, seeing it come down.
Chris Elliott is a longshoreman, the folks who handle all the products moving from ship to shore at the port. Since the bridge collapse, Chris has been in limbo.
The uncertainty has to be hard, though.
Yeah, it is. It's every day you're thinking about the future and the uncertainty. You lose some sleep over it, got bills to pay.
We're also learning the owner of the container ship has petitioned a court to limit its liability for the accident. And President Biden plans to visit the wreckage site on Friday. Back to you.
Aaron Gilchrist, thank you.
Well, officials are considering both state and federal charges this morning for a man who allegedly rammed into a barrier at the FBI's Atlanta field office on Monday. FBI officials say the Buick Encore with South Carolina license plates tried to follow an employee's car through the gated entrance without stopping. And that is when, as you can see on your screen right here, that wedge barrier popped up and the suspect rammed into it. But that was not enough to stop him. Officials say that the man then got out of the car and tried to run inside past the gate, and that's when he was tackled by several special agents who were passing by. No weapons were found inside the car. The suspect was taken to the hospital for evaluation.
Convicted murderer Alec Murdoch was sentenced to another 40 years in prison for stealing millions of dollars from his legal clients. He was also ordered to pay more than $8 million in restitution to his financial victims. Murdoch, a former personal injury lawyer, faced a harsher sentence, but the judge will let him serve his prison sentences for federal and state crimes concurrently. Murdoch was already sentenced last year to life in prison without parole for the murders of his wife and one of his sons.
Coming up, colleges are sounding the alarm over financial aid chaos. They're growing anxiety over a processing backlog and what it could mean for millions of students and parents.
But first, a major aid organization says it's suspending operations in Gaza after an Israeli airstrike killed more than half a dozen workers. That story next.
Welcome back. Iranian officials are accusing Israel of carrying out an airstrike on its consulate building in Syria, killing 2 generals and 5 officers as a result.
Syrian officials say that Iran's consular building in Damascus was leveled in the attack. They also point out that the Iranian ambassador's residence was located inside that same building. The attack is considered a major escalation between Israel and Iran since the war with Hamas began more than 6 months ago. Iran has been supporting militant groups fighting Israel in Gaza and along its border with Lebanon. NBC News international correspondent Raph Sanchez joins us now from Tel Aviv with the latest. Raph, good morning. So let's start with this attack on the Iran consulate building in Syria. What more do we know, and did the U.S. know anything about the airstrike beforehand?
Joe, good morning. This was a brazen daylight attack on an Iranian diplomatic building, which even by the standards of Israel's years-long shadow campaign against Iran is pretty unusual. This explosion happening in the Syrian capital of Damascus yesterday afternoon. Iran says several senior members of the Revolutionary Guard Corps were killed in the attack. You'll remember the name of that organization, the Revolutionary Guard. It is the same unit of the Iranian military that General Qasem Soleimani was from. He was that senior Iranian commander assassinated by the Trump administration in January of 2020. Now, Iran has no doubt that Israel was responsible for this. They are vowing revenge. Israel is neither confirming nor denying, which is in line with their policy of strikes in Syria and in other locations. But we have heard from the Israeli defense minister late last week suggesting that Israel was going to expand its bombing campaign against Iranian-backed militants in Lebanon, in Syria, and in other countries. I can tell you Israeli forces are on high alert today for any possible Iranian retaliation. Last night, the Israeli military says an Iranian-made drone crashed into an Israeli naval base down in the south of this country. There were no casualties, but Israel is calling this a very serious incident, and it is looking into how this drone was able to get through Israel's multi-layered missile defense systems. Guys.
Raph, this other big piece of news here, Israeli defense forces are also being blamed for an attack on the humanitarian aid group World Central Kitchen. At least 7 people from that organization were killed in an airstrike. What are we learning from the IDF this morning? What does this attack tell us about just how dire the situation is for aid workers on the ground?
Yeah, the Israeli military is facing a lot of questions this morning about the accuracy of its strikes in Gaza. As you said, World Central Kitchen says 7 of its staff killed in a strike in central Gaza. They say that they were in a 3-car convoy, that the vehicles were clearly labeled with the logo of the World Central Kitchen, and that they had coordinated the movement of those vehicles with the Israeli military ahead of time. And yet somehow this Israeli strike apparently raining down, killing these international aid workers, the victims from around the world, including at least 1 American. The Israeli military is calling this a tragic incident. They say that they have kicked off an investigation at the highest levels. Israel's chief military spokesman says he spoke this morning to the founder of World Central Kitchen, Chef Jose Andres, to pass on the condolences of the Israeli military. But the White House is saying this is a deeply disturbing incident and that it is encouraging Israel to carry out a swift and a transparent investigation. Guys.
It's a story that's going to get a lot of attention as the days move on. Finally, Raph, we do want to mention Israel saw its largest protests against Prime Minister Netanyahu's handling of the war last night. These protests just seem to be growing and intensifying. What is it they're demanding, and how is Netanyahu responding?
So they have a number of demands, Joe. They are calling for early elections. They are calling for a ceasefire deal to bring the hostages home. And there is a lot of anger among more secular Israelis right now who want to see more members of the ultra-Orthodox Jewish community conscripted into the Israeli military. 6 months into this war, there is a feeling that the burden of military service is not being shared evenly among different Israeli communities. Now, Netanyahu is actually recovering in hospital from a hernia operation. But before he went into surgery, he gave a pretty defiant press conference. He said that he will not call early elections because that would paralyze Israel during wartime. Guys.
All right, Raph Sanchez, a lot to cover this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let's stay on international headlines and start with some breaking news out of Finland overnight.
NBC News international correspondent Claudio Lavaga has that and other world headlines. Claudio, good morning.
Good morning, guys. That's right. Well, police in Finland says that 1 young student was killed and 2 others were injured in a shooting in a primary school early this morning near the capital, Helsinki. Now, according to officials, the shooting took place in a school in the suburbs of the capital, attended by around 800 students from 1st to 9th grade. The police said the suspect, who is believed to be a 12-year-old, was later apprehended, and the school's principal said the immediate danger is now over. Well, let's move to South Korea now, where the military said that North Korea fired yet another ballistic missile. In a statement, South Korea's Joint Chief of Staff said the missile was launched from an area north of the capital, Pyongyang, and flew about 370 miles before falling into the sea off its east coast. Now, the launch sparked immediate condemnation also from the Prime Minister of Japan. And let's stay in Japan, where the imperial family made their debut on Instagram. On Monday, the Imperial Household Agency posted about 60 photos and 5 videos of recent public appearances by Emperor Naruhito and Empress Masako. The agency said they wanted the public to have a better understanding of the imperial family's official duties and chose Instagram because of its popularity among the youth. By Monday evening, their account had more than 270,000 followers. Back to you guys.
There you go, Claudio. Thank you so much. Well, millions of Americans will look up into the sky next week to witness the rare total solar eclipse. Well, scientists will also be focused focus on the sky using the configuration of the moon for a unique opportunity to study our sun.
NASA is going to send 2 specially outfitted planes into the stratosphere with instruments on board for 5 different experiments. NBC News national climate reporter Chase Kane went to NASA's Johnson Space Center for a closer look.
NASA mechanics make their final checks on one of the 2 planes which will chase the eclipse to study our sun. Piloting this WB-57, Tom Parent will never forget his first time flying through an eclipse.
We've got the eye protection on, just like, you know, everybody's on the ground, right? They've got the little paper glasses and stuff. And once it went to totality, as I look up, it's like, oh, I can't see anything. Well, of course, it was in totality. So I realized, yeah, I got to take my visor off. Then it was pretty fantastic to look at that for a couple minutes.
NASA uses this plane for its experiments in part because it's tried and true. The WB-57 has been around since the 50s, but also because it can fly at 60,000 feet, well above any clouds, and also above about 90% of the Earth's atmosphere, so that's not getting in the way of these experiments.
It's really hard to measure the sun in mid-wave infrared from the ground because our atmosphere absorbs that light.
Amir Caspi is a solar astrophysicist whose instrument SAMI will be tucked into the nose of this plane. SAMI will focus on our sun's atmosphere, the corona, an approach he pioneered during the last total eclipse.
Back when I did this in 2017, this was a crazy idea. We didn't know if it was going to work. We didn't know what we would get. And it was nail-biting for quite some time. And then we got amazing data. I could see it coming down off the live satellite feed. And, of course, we're using a new instrument that's more capable and is able to get us a richer set of data, a richer set of observations.
One goal this year, to learn why the corona is millions of degrees hotter than the surface of the sun. Another, understanding the origin of solar winds, which can impact satellites, airplanes, and even our power grids here on Earth. And that's just one of 5 experiments on board these 2 planes, which will each have only about 6 minutes to seize this rare opportunity.
Yeah, that pressure, unfortunately, is for kind of every kind of mission that we fly. So we don't ever take things lightly. Like, people put their lives' work into these things, and we don't want to mess it up for them, right?
A total solar eclipse is like nature's perfect coronagraph. The moon comes between us and the sun, and it's exactly the right size in the sky to block out the disk of the sun, but not too much more. You know, we've been studying the sun for quite a long time. We still have a lot of open questions.
At NASA's Johnson Space Center, I'm national climate reporter Chase Kane.
And be sure to tune into our special Total Eclipse Countdown to History. It is airing on NBC News Now tonight at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, and that will continue throughout the week.
So much excitement everywhere. All right, coming up, Black Americans are more than 4 times likely to be diagnosed with kidney failure.
But until recently, a racially biased test kept those in need off a transplant list for years. The change that's now being made that could save lives. That's up next.
We're back with a major health issue affecting Black Americans. The National Institutes of Health says that Black Americans are 4 times more likely to be diagnosed with kidney failure than white people. Well, now a new mandate is prioritizing Black kidney transplant candidates after researchers and doctors realized that a race-based test had been misevaluating Black patients for decades. NBC News correspondent Antonia Hilton spoke with a recent kidney recipient about the life-changing experience.
It's time. I'm in the hospital getting ready for my transplant.
When PhD student Jasmine Evans finally got the call that she would receive a kidney transplant in July, she was overjoyed.
I'm getting a whole kidney, so.
Evans was first diagnosed with chronic kidney disease when she was just 17 years old and was put on the transplant list in 2019. She thought she was still years away from being matched with a donor, until a letter from her hospital came in the mail last year, explaining she should have been added to the transplant list in 2015, 4 years earlier, and that a racially biased test was to blame.
When you got that letter, what went through your mind?
At first, I was outraged, and just the fact that no one really knew that this was something that was going on, it was really jarring and shocking.
Evans is one of thousands of Black patients who have been prioritized for transplants as a result of a national mandate by the Organ Procurement and Transplantation Network, or OPTN. The new rule, which was instituted in 2022, instructs hospitals to stop using a test that overestimated how well Black people's kidneys were functioning.
In the 1990s, there was a big study when the Black participants in this research studies, creatinines and kidney function were looked at. For some reason, they had slightly higher amounts of kidney function for the same level blood test. And instead of investigating sort of why that might be, the conclusion was that it was based on race.
That flawed test, meaning thousands of patients were put on the transplant list years later than they should have been, a potentially deadly wait.
For some people, those extra years waiting actually contribute to their either being too sick to get a transplant or their premature death.
Patients like Evans who were misevaluated have been bumped up on the list, with the average patient getting transplants 1 to 2 years sooner than expected. But for Evans, who calls herself a reluctant kidney advocate, the fight is not over.
What do you believe this represents for thousands of Black patients like you?
I think it represents hope. It represents reconciling in a lot of ways. But I also see that the fight is not over yet. There are thousands of Black Americans that are still waiting for organ donations across the board.
Our thanks to Antonia Hilton for that report. The doctor she spoke with says change does take time. Some labs are still using the old race-based formula, so doctors need to keep an eye out for their new patients to make sure they're getting the care that they deserve.
It is Tuesday, so we're going to turn to a different kind of health news with our weekly mental health check-in. This morning, we're taking a closer look at some of the dangers behind teens self-diagnosing their mental health issues using social media.
Plus, we've got some tips on training your brain to think its way to happiness.
That's right. Here to help us break all this down is the chair and medical director of the Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Health at Sibley Memorial Hospital, Dr. Erica Richards. Dr. Richards, good morning. Great to have you with us. So let's jump right in. A recent poll found that 55% of students, a huge number, use social media to try to diagnose their own mental health issues. I think a lot of us Google, something's wrong, which sometimes can be a black hole. I know often doctors don't love to hear that, but just being honest about it. But what is the danger in actually trying to diagnose yourself? And how can our viewers think about their teens' mental health when we know that they have that nonstop access to phones and screens?
Good morning, Savannah. Yep, good old Dr. Google. What do we do with that? So not only are they diagnosing themselves, but we see that teenagers are using it to diagnose their peers. And about 65% of teachers say they see this going on within their classrooms and within that peer support group. And what's happening is these students are turning to the influencers on social media to help with those diagnoses. Now, let's spin this a little bit into a positive note. The good news is that younger Americans, they're more open to talking about mental health. They're more open to trying to figure it out and that there could be a potential diagnosis. But what they're lacking is access to care. This is really a discussion about access. And so teachers and parents really should make sure that they're in tune with what their young people are watching, and more importantly, help them gain that access they need to ask the questions and hopefully get a formal diagnosis if there is one there.
There's some important advice there. All right, let's talk about light. Some researchers are actually saying exposure to light at night can increase your risk of depression by as much as 30%. Higher amounts of light during the day can lower your risk of depression. So shed some light on this one for us. What's the actual connection between light and mental health? And what tips do you have for folks like us who maybe have to turn on the lights at odd hours?
So, Joe, another interesting topic. What do we do? Some people are up late, some people work nights. And what does this mean? Well, when taken in sum, what it means is that, correct, about 30% of people, when they are exposed to light at night, they have these increased rates of depression and other mental health illnesses. Whereas people that are exposed to the light during the day really have significantly less likelihood of developing depression or other mental illnesses as well. And so what that means is, number one, identifying if this is you, are there things that you can change? For example, are you someone who likes to look at the TV or likes to look at your phone prior to going to sleep? These are the things we're talking about that really we can change. And this is about our circadian rhythm, our body's internal clock. How do we keep that from being reset at odd hours? And so those are some of the clues that will help us really turn down the lights when possible. And there are some people that seek what's called light therapy, knowing that use of this light during the day might help offset the things that they can't change about exposure at night.
Really interesting. Okay, quickly here on this last one, we are thinking happy thoughts because researchers are saying you can actually train your brain to be happy. What do we need to know about this one?
So, the truth is the United States used to be in the top 20 in terms of happiest countries. Now we're at number 23. And so there are some things that we have to adjust, that we have to level set for ourselves. And what the researchers are saying in this, World Happiness Report is, let's kind of reframe this narrative a little bit. So what can we do? 3 easy things. Number 1, redefine loneliness. If you're by yourself or you're alone, maybe think about showing gratitude for that time to think, for that space to think. And reset that in terms of not feeling so alone. Number 2, maintain fulfilling bonds. One of the things I thought was very helpful advice was friendships do not maintain themselves. So be active about that. And number 3, train your brains to handle emotions effectively, both positive and negative.
Dr. Richards, always great to see you. Thank you so much.
Brain gym soon.
Yeah, coming up, but the deadline to apply to college is right around the corner. Some schools are struggling to process financial aid.
We're going to dig into whether the fiasco is going to impact thousands of students' ability to actually go to college in the fall. That's next.
Welcome back. As the school year enters the final stretch, the deadline for students to decide where they will go to college is right around the corner. But several issues in processing financial aid have made that decision process challenging for many families across the country. Now universities are sounding the alarm, saying they can't process it all in time. NBC News correspondent Stephanie Gosk has more.
Choosing a college is hard enough, but as the enrollment deadline draws near, some students still don't know if they will get the financial aid they need to pay for school. Frustrating Virginia high schooler Kate Tunstall.
How many schools accepted you?
5 or 6.
How many of them have told you whether or not they will offer financial aid?
None of them.
Issues with the federal government's new financial aid form, FAFSA, keep mounting.
Students who don't have offers, they likely will choose to not go to college in the fall, and that'll be a tragedy for them and a tragedy for the nation.
According to a recent survey of college officials, 67% don't think their school can process financial aid in the next few weeks.
Low-income students are already facing a number of challenges to get a higher education, and aren't they the ones who are hurt the most by this?
They are definitely the ones who are hurt most. The irony is that this was a system that was aimed at making it easier.
The new financial aid form mandated by Congress expanded eligibility and streamlined questions from 103 to about 20. But there was a late rollout and lots of glitches.
There's no question that the transition here has been rocky and it's been challenging, not just for us, but for students and for colleges.
Facing delays, dozens of colleges have pushed back the May 1st enrollment deadline. The DOE has also made multiple changes, including adding department employees to deal with the issues and loosening requirements for schools.
People are working 7 days a week here, long nights, to make sure that it's going to be possible for people to get their aid offers.
Meanwhile, the Tunstalls wait.
If we're unable to know if we can pay for the college, then it's a pretty big deal.
Like many students, what she doesn't want, along with a college diploma, is a mountain of debt. Stephanie Gosk, NBC News.
All right, let's talk more about this mess with Investopedia editor-in-chief Caleb Silver. Caleb, good morning. So we heard there from the American Council on Education. That group and other organizations have sent a letter to Education Secretary Miguel Cardona. They say colleges don't have enough time to process the FAFSA forms with the May 1st enrollment date looming. I mean, I was a free lunch kid growing up in high school. I needed to know what my financial aid was going to be to make a decision. What do families do in the short term while they remain in limbo here?
Yeah, people are in limbo, and the decisions are going to be pushed out for a lot of schools until June 1st. But this is a stressful time, and I've been dealing with this myself. They've been sending emails saying it's not complete. It is complete, but this is a mess. So families got to really actually stay on top of this. Make sure the forms are submitted, because some schools do this, process this on a first-come, first-end basis. So if your application's in and it's set, you're going to get looked at first. The second thing is stay in touch with your school. Your schools are sending out emails, the schools that have accepted your kids. Make sure you're taking a look at those, and then stay in touch with the admissions officers. Maybe an email, hey, I'm still interested, still waiting for my information, so they know that you're still into the school. And then explore some merit-based opportunities in the meantime. You can get some foundation scholarships. You can get some merit-based scholarships that can take some of that price tag down, and then hold off on your decision if you can. I know it's hard. A lot of families want to know where their kids going to school next fall. Hold off as long as you can, because you might get a better offer on a competing school.
Absolutely. Okay, so Steph had mentioned, like there's this new system. They changed it. They culled down the questions. there was delays, but then there's been all these other issues in addition to the delays. You just mentioned kind of like these glitches where it's like you haven't filled this out even if you had, and now there's another new one that has to do with tax data for families. What is this issue?
Yeah, taking the tax data from the last couple of years to adjust the family's income for inflation, that's really important. They were supposed to simplify this process, but it got even more complicated. So it is an easier form to fill out than it's been in years past, but you got software glitches out of the gate. You got issues adjusting for inflation based on people's tax information, and now they blame it on a third-party provider, of course. But families are still in limbo here on one of the most important financial decisions they'll ever have to make.
I hate to ask this, but if May 1st comes and this isn't solved yet, what are the options that seniors have at that point?
Well, they got to keep waiting if they can. They can also choose to take a gap year, defer the acceptance. Not a lot of kids want to do that. Not a lot of families want to do that. Or they can decide to start maybe at a community college or a different college and then transfer it to the college they want, they got accepted to in a year or 2 years from now. But it doesn't put families in a good position right now. And this is a pretty stressful time for those thinking about that next step for their high school seniors.
No kidding. I think we're going to be talking more about this in the coming weeks. Caleb, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Let's get you more money news now. There was another round of job cuts at Citigroup as it continues to restructure.
CNBC's Silvana Henao joins us with that and other money news. Silvana, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. Good morning, Savannah. Yes, so Citigroup conducted a fresh round of job cuts in its investment bank last week as the company completes a major restructuring. Bloomberg reports tech, media, and telecom was among the coverage areas hardest hit, with several junior and senior bankers affected. Citigroup CEO Jane Fraser laid out plans at the start of the year to streamline operations by eliminating 20,000 roles. UBS plans to start giving cash back to shareholders again. The Swiss banking giant plans to buy back up to $2 billion of its own stock. Those share buybacks had been put on hold last year following its rescue and takeover of rival Credit Suisse. Buying back shares is crucial to building investor confidence as UBS combines two of the world's largest banks. And Krispy Kreme wants to help you celebrate the solar eclipse next week. It's introducing a total solar eclipse donut for a limited time. It's an original glazed donut dipped in black chocolate icing with silver sprinkles and piped with buttercream, and it features a whole Oreo cookie in the center. It'll be available Friday through Monday, April 8th. That's the day of the eclipse, in store or through the app or the website, guys.
That's
Silvana,
pretty cute.
Are you craving donuts this week?
Oh my
I feel like
God.
we just did this yesterday.
I know. Well, yesterday was an April Fool's offer. Today is about the eclipse.
And you got to bring us that news, right? You got to give us the latest donut news.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Silvana. Appreciate it.
Well, we can always use a little more optimism, right, in our lives. And today we're going to get help from our next guest, Tank Sinatra.
He has built a huge following with his brand, Tank's Good News, spreading positive vibes throughout the internet, even at gas stations across the country. He's on those little TVs at the pumps. Yeah. It's all part of his mission to keep positivity in his followers' lives.
And Tank, creator of Tank's Good News, joins us now. Tank,
hey.
Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. We're so excited to talk to you.
I know Not as excited as I am.
So you first started Tank's Good News back in the aftermath of Hurricane Harvey. That's when it got started. But I understand that you've been thinking about this idea to do something like this, focus on good news for months. What did make you want to start it at that time? And what was the first post that really took off?
Oh, my goodness. The first post. I can't remember specifically, but it was a long time coming, this idea. And then Hurricane Harvey hit. And as tragic as the situation was, it was in direct proportion to the goodness coming out of it. So there was two posts that I cannot distinguish between. One was a post about the Cajun Navy, which is basically people who pulled their boats out of the water and went and rescued people in Houston. Mm-hmm. And the other one was something similar, but just with jet skis. And I was like, these people are in the flood also, but they're showing up for other people because they're either stuck or stranded. And when Hurricane Harvey was over, I was like, well, that was fun. You know, I'm glad I got to spread a little bit of good news. And then I thought, I wonder if there's more. And here we are 7 years later, and there's more than ever.
You know, I literally did a story on the Cajun Navy rescuing people at Hurricane Harvey, so I can tell you firsthand what that meant to the people there and how great it is to spread that message. Just help us understand why this is so important.
Oh, my God. How much time do we have? It is, there's a couple of different things that spurred it to actually become a reality. One was this book that I read called The Power of Kindness by Piero Ferrucci. And his statement in there was basically, when an act of kindness is done, three parties benefit: the doer, the receiver, but then the third party is anybody who witnesses it. So in the case of Instagram, you don't have one witness, you have 3 million witnesses. And I thought, I wonder what kind of impact that would have on people's day-to-day lives. And it just, I mean, the feedback was so overwhelming and positive and immediate that it grew fast. The page grew to like 100,000 followers in a week. But then what happened, which was a major turning point, is that people started sending me stories. So not only was there an appetite for ingesting it or taking it in, but these people were then turning around. And I swear, I almost quit at that point. I was like, my job is done. And then I was like, well, it's not. It's just getting started, you know?
Right. And like you said, 7 years later, in a sea of so much negativity, whether it's just nasty content or whether it is just, you know, really bad, tough news, what do you want people to take away from your content and your brand when they do see that pop up in their feed?
I think so. The negativity is unavoidable. It's a fact of life. It's just the way things are, not just in the media, but in life. Bad things happen, good things happen. And I think that I want people to take away the fact that living a life without positivity sprinkled into it and not forced or shoehorned in, just like glance over this way. It's an incomplete way of looking at the world. So there are things that are happening that you need to know about. We are humans. We're wired to survive and you know, identify threats, but just glance over this way every once in a while and see what good is going on, so that your worldview is more complete, like I said, because it's a looking at all the bad things only. It's just a dishonest approach to life, and it can have a real negative effect on people's mental health.
So important to keep that good news in mind, and you've helped us do that now for 7 years. Tank Sinatra, great to have you on with us. We'd love to see you again. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, coming up, playing video games propelled a young man to life in the fast lane of NASCAR.
Well, now Raja Karuth is making history on the track. His unusual path to the victory lane. We'll tell you about it up next.
All right, I know we call this the good talker, but we've got a bit of bad news for those of you who value your hearing. Those ear-piercing, shifty-looking cicadas, they're coming back, and they have their sights set on the southeast and the Midwest. Trillions, yes, trillions of the flying insects will be crawling up from the depths of the earth around the same time this spring. And according to experts who are lovingly labeling this Cicadageddon, an invasion of this scale has not happened in more than 2 centuries. Oh, but wait, there's more. These bummer bugs can sing as loud as jet engines, and naturally they can cover your house and your entire town while they're looking for a mate. Now, although they're not exactly harmful to humans or pets, cicadas can damage younger trees while nesting. Scientists hope the creepy, crawly conquerors will reveal vital information about themselves in the ecosystem, but until then, we all will suffer.
Yeah, that's a hard pass for me. Those really freak me out.
The good talker.
Yeah. Sorry about all these pictures, guys.
Useful.
Thanks, Joe. Well, we're going to end the hour now with a look at a young racing sensation who we've been following closely over the past year. We first introduced you to Raja Karuth last February when we spoke to him about how his love for playing racing video games led him to some real-life success driving for NASCAR. In just 4 years, his career has skyrocketed, and now at only 21 years old, he's already made history by becoming only the 3rd Black driver to win a NASCAR race. NBC News correspondent Sam Brock has his story.
For fans of 21-year-old Raja Karuth.
There it is. Raja Karuth wins it at Las Vegas. First career win.
His accomplishments might seem to be flying in at breakneck speed.
Are you telling me, because you're 21 now, right? Only 4 years ago was your first race?
Yeah, coming on 5. It'll be 5 in June. And so to be at this level, I feel pretty proud so far.
The number 71 truck for Spire Motorsports. Karuth just became the 3rd Black driver in NASCAR's history to win a National Series race after Wendell Scott and Bubba Wallace.
Did you see that as part of your mission?
The passion was the main thing, and it still is, right? It's authentic to my background and who I am and my family. But at the same time, you know, I'm here to be a racer.
Video games as a kid.
So you even have like tire pressure in there?
Oh yeah, you can see all that stuff.
And eye simulator machines as a teen, serving as a springboard straight to NASCAR's Drive for Diversity program here in North Carolina, following in the footsteps of drivers like Wallace and Daniel Suarez.
Well, for me, it was literally the sole reason why I was able to make the jump from racing online to in real life.
And critical support coming from his family.
Just going through the cadence of any driver and any parent that wants to support a child doing something, but as far as it being very unique, I think that's the difference, right?
Do you think Raj's accomplishments are opening the door for other people to come on through?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now with a full garage.
I appreciate their work.
Caruth, an inspiration.
Last year was the dream, and now the dream is reality, so it's really cool.
And success story that's only beginning to rev up. Sam Brock, NBC News, Mooresville, North Carolina.
I can see all the kids
so
out
cool.
there who are like, see, I can play video games. It's going to give me great opportunities.
But you know what? And also the other kids who say, hey, he looks like me and I could be a NASCAR driver. It's so cool.
It's a great message, a great inspiration. That'll do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
Stay with us. The news continues right now. Good morning. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Savannah Sellers.
I'm Joe Fryer. Right now on Morning News Now, states of emergency. We're tracking some wild spring weather that's thundering across the country. Overnight, scenes of devastation in Oklahoma after a tornado reportedly ripped through one city. And farther north, the threat of more heavy rain, dangerous flash flooding, and hail looms over the Midwest and Northeast. Our Angie Lassman is tracking it all. A deadly escalation in the Middle East. A key aid organization working to provide vital food for Gazans under siege is pausing operations after it says 7 of its workers were killed in an Israeli airstrike there. What Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is saying about the tragedy this morning as fears of a wider war grow following a deadly blast in Syria that Iran says Israel is behind. Plus, a dream vacation turned into a nightmare. 8 cruise ship passengers were left stranded, allegedly, by the boat on an African island. More on their race to get back on board. And later in the hour, we've got front row seats to Broadway's latest tear-jerking hit, The Notebook. Yes, that Notebook. My conversation with the show's stars, Joy Wood and Ryan Vasquez, in our ongoing original series, Curtain Call. And yes, they actually do sell little boxes of Kleenex there at the theater.
It's real, right?
Yes.
You cried.
Well, of course I cried.
Yeah.
It's The Notebook. Of course you cry.
Of course.
You don't cry in The Notebook. There's something wrong with you.
I do agree with that.
We're going to start this hour with the extreme weather that's moving across much of the central and southern parts of the United States.
Yeah, that's right. With tens of millions of Americans under advisories for tornadoes, hail, even flash floods. We've got NBC News correspondent Morgan Chesky in Barnstable, Oklahoma. He joins us with the latest. Morgan, good morning.
Yeah, Savannah, Joe, good morning. Barnstable, one of the hardest hit communities after this fast-moving storm system tore through here overnight. You can see what's left of a roof on the ground behind me. Fortunately, this morning, authorities confirming no one injured whatsoever in this town. But this storm system continues to move, and right now it is far from over. Overnight, severe storms pounding the central and southern plains, bringing rain, hail, and even tornadoes. A reported twister hitting near Kingfisher, Oklahoma. The dramatic funnel seen outlined in the sky. And a tornado leaving a trail of wreckage on the ground in the town of Barnstable. Some families rushing to take shelter in a nearby school.
They were going to stay there at the house, and I was like, I can't lose you. You guys got to go with me.
Oklahoma also pelted by fierce hail as the storm made its way through. In Springfield, Missouri, another possible tornado tracked overnight, while heavy rains battered the city. And in North Texas, hail rained down as big as tennis balls. These storms all part of a multi-day severe weather outbreak impacting more than 69 million Americans, stretching from the Mississippi and Ohio valleys all the way to the East Coast. This following massive storms in Southern California, where over the weekend, some highways were left impassable. In Los Angeles, the city experienced its wettest back-to-back years since the late 1800s. Now, Mother Nature's fury moving eastward, leaving more destruction in its wake. And this morning, hundreds, if not thousands, of Oklahomans still in the dark. We have seen crews trying to get those power lines back up as fast as possible. But in the meantime, there are tornado watches still stretching from multiple states to the Northeast, a testament to just how fast this entire system continues to move. Joe, Savannah.
All right, Morgan Chesky, stay safe. Thank you.
More on what to expect today and this week. Let's get a closer look at your Morning News Now forecast.
Meteorologist Angie Lastman is with us. Hey, Angie, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. Just as Morgan said, we've got some of those watches and warnings in effect right now. Where you see that bright pink outline, that is a tornado watch that's going to remain in effect here for a little while longer. We also have a couple of tornado warnings right on that Indiana-Kentucky state line. We're going to be watching that line of storms continue to march to the east, and the concern will remain through the day today for some of those stronger storms to develop, potentially bringing us the hail, the wind, and even those tornadoes. We'll show you that here in a moment. Here's an overview of the other alerts we're tracking. Plenty of rain associated with this system, so flood watches are in effect for 16 million people across that same region. We've got a couple of spots that are looking at wintry weather, potential blizzard conditions on the table. 4 million people under these winter alerts across parts of the Great Lakes and New England. Here's the storm system we're watching today. We, of course, have that snow and the rain and kind of the wintry mess that we're going to see across the Great Lakes. But along the system, we'll start to see some of these stronger storms developing. That's where we have that concern for that severe weather through the afternoon hours and even after dark today as we get into the evening hours tonight. A lot of major cities included in this. It goes from the Great Lakes all the way down to the Gulf Coast, from Mobile up to Cleveland. But the bullseye of where we'll have the greatest chance for some of those stronger storms is going to be this area that you see right here, where you see the diagonal lines from Columbus down to Birmingham. That's where we have the potential to see some of those stronger tornadoes, the EF2s or higher, the long track tornadoes that we're concerned about here. Of course, damaging at the very least when we see those developing. Charleston to Evansville included in that, Nashville as well as Tupelo. The bigger, broader area, Atlanta, Montgomery, chances for some of those stronger storms too, and those tornadoes, and not to mention the potential for some large hail, as well as those strong wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour. By tomorrow, the rain works across parts of the Northeast. We'll see the snow still in place for folks across the Great Lakes, and now we get New England in on the action. We'll see the difficulty when it comes to traveling. The severe storm risk won't be quite as large for tomorrow, but it won't be zero. We'll look from New Jersey to Florida for that potential. By Thursday, yeah, we're still unsettled in this same region. We're finally going to get this out of the picture here as we move into the later part of the work week. But between now and then, basically through Thursday, plenty of rain on the way, especially for the Northeast. That's where we'll see those highest amounts, 1 to 3 inches. The potential for flooding will be there. And I mentioned the blizzard conditions. We've got the snow in place. We've got those strong wind gusts in place. So travel is going to be really difficult across these regions when it comes to the roadways, likely airline delays across this region, guys, over the next couple of days as this April storm system finally will move out by the end of the week.
We know what April showers bring. What do April blizzards bring?
Yeah,
Not
just thinking
Mayflower.
of April showers. Okay, this is kind of normal, but not that. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Angie, thank you.
Former President Trump is back on the campaign trail today. He's expected to speak on immigration and border policy at an event in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Trump's campaign team says that he's going to be highlighting the killing of Ruby Garcia, a 25-year-old woman from the area allegedly killed by her boyfriend, who officials say is an undocumented immigrant. NBC News senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez joins us now from Grand Rapids with a preview. Gabe, good morning.
Hi there, Joe. Good morning. Far from the U.S. southern border, former President Trump is coming to this critical swing state, Michigan, to talk immigration. This will be his first campaign event in about 3 weeks, and it comes as he fights legal battles on multiple fronts. Overnight, Donald Trump posting a $175 million bond in his civil fraud case. For now, the money will prevent the former president's assets from being seized while the case is appealed. He's also facing a serious cash crunch as he fights 4 criminal indictments. Trump's share of his social media company just dropped by more than $1 billion after it reported $58 million in losses, causing the stock to drop 21%. It comes after last week he announced he'd sell God Bless the USA Bibles for $60 each.
Make America pray again.
The former president back on the campaign trail today here in Battleground, Michigan, talking immigration.
Millions of illegal border crossers have entered the country unlawfully.
Here in Grand Rapids, he'll focus on 25-year-old Ruby Garcia, who died last month in what authorities have called a domestic violence homicide. Police say the suspect, her romantic partner, is an undocumented immigrant who had previously been deported during the Trump administration.
We had him out of here, and he came back.
While there are hundreds of murders in Michigan each year committed by legal residents, Republicans are citing the case as evidence President Biden is not doing enough to secure the southern border. Biden's Michigan allies are firing back.
This was not a crisis that occurred overnight. It's been 40 years since our last comprehensive immigration reform. Both parties bear responsibility.
President Biden's team is also focusing heavily on Michigan. Democrats plan to open 30 campaign offices in the state over the next several weeks. And meanwhile, former President Trump is also set to visit Wisconsin today. Joe?
All right, Gabe, thank you.
Now to Florida, where the state's Supreme Court has made a pair of significant rulings on reproductive rights. In one decision, the High Court upheld a 15-week ban on abortion. That ruling also means that the state's 6-week abortion ban that Governor Ron DeSantis signed into law will go into effect.
In the second ruling, the court is allowing a proposed amendment that would enshrine abortion protections in the state constitution to be included on the ballot in this upcoming 2024 election.
For more on this, we are joined by NBC News Now legal analyst Angela Sanadella. Angela, good morning. So explain this to us here. What exactly did we hear from the court about why they upheld this and why, when they were talking about the 15-week, it directly impacts that 6-week ban?
Right. So the legislators of Florida actually passed a second law that was different from the 15-week ban. The second law was for the 6-week ban. And the 6-week ban would go into effect 30 days after any court, in this case, the Supreme Court of Florida, upheld the 15-week ban and the constitutionality. So, frankly, regardless of your stance on abortion, the privacy challenge that was raised to the constitutionality of any of these legislators' decisions was pretty weak. It was based on the idea that Florida has in their own constitution this enshrined right to privacy that covers abortion. But what the Supreme Court of Florida did was agree with the legislators in saying that that's not true. When this privacy right was put into the Constitution, it was really meant to only cover government surveillance and personal intrusion into personal records, but nothing to do with abortion. So really what the Supreme Court of Florida was just doing there is just not standing in the way of the legislators, saying in this post-Roe v. Wade world where that was overturned, we are letting the legislators make the decision.
Then we have this decision on Amendment 4, which would give voters the chance to enshrine abortion protection into the state constitution there. That essentially means that voters can sort of overrule the Supreme Court here and say, no, we're going to decide what the rule is, right?
Yes, it's fascinating because you think in this country, when we elect our own representatives, they're supposed to represent the will of the people. So theoretically, there's supposed to be alignment there. So when statutes are passed by our legislators, they're supposed to be aligned with what the voters think. But there seems to be a possible disconnect here. Maybe over 1 million strong in the state of Florida, where the voters are saying we might not agree with what the legislators are doing. So in this case, they put onto the ballot this measure that would protect the right to abortion up until viability, which appears to be about 24 weeks. Now, that has to pass, so that means that over 60% of the people of Florida have to vote. But what the Supreme Court here did is, again, push away another weak challenge to this, which was just the Attorney General, the state attorney saying there that this was too vague and shouldn't be on the ballot. But really, the Supreme Court there was, again, stepping back and saying, no, we're going to let the people decide if they disagree with the legislators.
So let's say they do get that 60%. If this amendment were to pass in November, what does this look like? I mean, could that be challenged? Does that take precedent? What happens?
So if it gets into the Constitution, that means that it can't be challenged. And it appears it would be pretty crystal clear then if that gets into the Constitution, the 15-week ban, the 6-week ban would all be declared unconstitutional. That means that someone would have to challenge it, and then the court would say that conflicts with the Constitution. So the role of the court here is really just to protect the Constitution, not really approve or decide about abortion itself.
That 60% number, though, is going to be key in this because, this is going to become a huge political issue that's going to become nationalized in so many ways. But 60%.
Right. It has to be 60% voters in order for this to proceed. So we're not really sure here what's going to happen, but we do know that at least for 6 months, there's going to be a near total ban on abortions in the state of Florida.
All right. Angela Sanadella, thank you so much. Appreciate your analysis. We're learning new details about the Israeli airstrike that killed 7 members of the World Central Kitchen. This morning, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is calling the strike unintended and tragic, and Israeli officials say that they're launching a full investigation into the attack. But the humanitarian group, which has worked in war zones all around the world to feed millions, is condemning the attack and suspending all operations in the region. NBC News international correspondent Raph Sanchez is in Tel Aviv with the latest on all this. Raph, good morning.
Joe, good morning. World Central Kitchen is saying 7 of its aid workers were killed in that Israeli airstrike in central Gaza last night. The victims from around the world, including at least 1 American. And in an emotional statement this morning, the founder of the charity, Chef Jose Andres, saying Israel must bring an end to the killing of civilians.
This morning, the twisted remains of World Central Kitchen armored vehicles destroyed by an Israeli strike. The U.S. charity says 7 of its staff were killed in the attack, and now it's halting its aid operations in Gaza. The victims include a dual U.S.-Canadian citizen, as well as people with British, Australian, Polish, and Palestinian citizenship.
A lot of people very, very happy to see us.
Chef Jose Andres, who founded World Central Kitchen, calling them angels, and adding, the Israeli government needs to stop this indiscriminate killing, stop using food as a weapon. Andres' organization was the first to bring desperately needed food into Gaza by sea. He spoke about his mission to get food to northern Gaza on Today.
We need to do everyday shipments to the north. We can solve the hunger problem in the north. Everybody working together, we can be successful.
God bless you. The Israeli military calling the killings a tragic incident and says it's launched a thorough review at the highest levels. Its spokesman saying he talked to Chef Andres.
We are committed to examining our operations thoroughly and transparently.
But the charity says its staff were traveling in a 3-vehicle convoy clearly marked with its logo, and that it coordinated their movements with the Israeli military ahead of time. The White House urging Israel to swiftly investigate what happened.
Hey, this is Zomi and Chef of the Day.
One victim, Australian Zomi Frankom, an experienced aid worker. Damien Sobel from Poland was also killed, according to his local mayor. Israel facing questions about the accuracy of its strikes in Gaza. As elsewhere, rising fears of a wider war. This fiery explosion destroying an Iranian diplomatic building in Syria yesterday. Iran says the blast killed 7 officers from the Revolutionary Guard. Now it's blaming Israel and saying that as an ally, the U.S. must answer for the attack.
Now, Israel is neither confirming nor denying it was behind that strike in Syria, but its forces are on high alert for potential Iranian retaliation. We said in the piece, Joe, that World Central Kitchen is pausing its operations in Gaza. We are already seeing the real-world impact of that. Several ships were heading from Cyprus to Gaza carrying aid. Those ships have now turned around, and that is food that is going to be badly missed by people in northern Gaza on the brink of famine right now, where our crews say they have seen families trying to keep their children fed with grass. Jeff.
All right, Raph, thank you so much. Much more to come on this hour of morning news now, including renewed concerns over bird flu after a dairy worker caught the virus from cows.
First, though, the cruise ship passengers who say they were stranded on an African island after the boat simply left without them. We're going to tell you what went wrong up next. Welcome back. Well, what started out as a dream vacation soon turned into a nightmare for several cruise ship passengers after 8 of them say they were left stranded on an African island when their Norwegian cruise line ship left port without them. NBC News international correspondent Kelly Kobaya joins us now with the details on this one. Kelly, good morning.
Good morning to you, Savannah. Yeah, this was a pretty small group of passengers, 6 Americans and 2 Australians. They were all on a privately run excursion last Wednesday and were supposed to be back at the ship by 3 p.m. They didn't make it, and the ship sailed without them. Jill and Jay Campbell were on a dream cruise, sailing the coast of Africa for 21 days with Norwegian Cruise Lines, visiting the small island of Sao Tome off the coast of Nigeria on day 8 when they missed the boat.
We were on a tour of the island. We had an issue on the tour, but they didn't get us back in time.
According to the couple, the tour operator notified the captain that they were going to be late rejoining the group. They say the island's Coast Guard tried to get them, along with several others, to the ship, but they say they weren't allowed to board. They're now part of a number of foreigners stranded, including a husband and his pregnant wife from Delaware. 80-year-old Julia Lenkoff was on a different day tour.
She's a world traveler. She travels all the time. And so this was going to be one of her bucket list trips because she's been to 120 countries so far, and she wanted to get to 130.
Lenkoff collapsed, apparently suffering a stroke. The cruise line says she was medically disembarked to receive treatment locally, adding they tried to contact her but couldn't reach her. The Campbells helped her connect with her family back in California, who flew her home.
They really did save her life.
Norwegian Cruise Lines told NBC News that the Campbell's situation was very unfortunate, saying guests are responsible for ensuring they return to the ship at the published time, but added the guests were on a private tour. Cruise ships are strict about their boarding times, with passengers often rushing to get back on board. Lenkoff's family flew her back to California, where she's now getting treatment. The Campbells and other stranded passengers are still trying to catch up with the ship. And Norwegian has said that the Campbells' passports were delivered to local agents in Sao Tome so that they had those. The ship is now in Senegal this morning, and the company says the passengers have been given authorization to rejoin the ship today. The company says they remain in contact with those passengers and are providing information as it becomes available. Savannah.
All right, Kelly, thank you so much.
Let's get more news from around the world, starting in Haiti, where violence broke out on the streets of Port-au-Prince.
NBC News international correspondent Claudio Lavanga joins us with more. Claudio, good morning.
Savannah, Joe, good morning. Well, that's right. According to Reuters, civilians on Monday in the capital of Haiti, Port-au-Prince, were seen running for safety after heavy gunfire was heard echoing across the city center, including near the National Palace. Now, according to the news agency, on Monday, gunmen seized an armored vehicle from palace guards, and at least 4 people were found dead in a nearby upscale neighborhood. Now, violence in Port-au-Prince has spiraled out of control as rival gangs have been fighting over territory since Prime Minister Ariel Henry announced plans to step down 3 weeks ago. Now, let's go to Russia, where the Kremlin dismissed reports that Russian military intelligence may be behind the mysterious Havana syndrome that has affected U.S. diplomats around the world. The so-called Havana syndrome, which includes migraines, nausea, memory lapses, and dizziness, was first reported by U.S. embassy officials in the Cuban capital Havana in 2016. Now, according to a recent joint investigation by several media outlets, members of the Russian military intelligence unit has been placed at the scene of reported health incidents, while the Kremlin spokesperson, Dmitry Peskov, denies any involvement by Russia. And let's end this tour of the world in South Korea, where scientists announced a record-breaking nuclear fusion experiment. The scientists said they managed to sustain temperatures of 100 million degrees Celsius for 48 seconds, setting a new world record. Nuclear fusion is often referred to as the holy grail of clean energy, as it has the potential to provide limitless energy without carbon pollution. But maintaining these massively high temperatures for an extended period of time is very challenging. But now these South Korean scientists say their achievement is an important step towards this futuristic energy technology. Back to you guys.
All right, sounds like some good news. Claudio, thank you so much. Well, coming up, those mega popular weight loss drugs can be seen as a miracle treatment for thousands of Americans trying to shed some pounds.
But for some patients, the side effects can be pretty unpleasant, and in other cases, the weight may not come off at all. We're going to dig into the other side of those drugs right after this. Back now with a closer look at those popular weight loss drugs. Nearly 10 million Americans have turned to them for help dropping unwanted pounds.
And while they are popular, the reality is they do not actually work for everyone. There's not only the risk of unpleasant side effects, but in some cases, the weight doesn't actually come off at all. NBC News correspondent Stephanie Gosk is here with a closer look at how that's happening to some people. Steph, good morning.
Hey, guys, good morning. You know, many doctors are calling these new drugs revolutionary, but now that they've become so popular, there's a growing number of people sharing stories not of success, but of frustration. It seems the miracle drugs aren't a miracle for everyone.
The commercials are everywhere.
so are the testimonials.
It works.
Touting the popular new weight loss drugs.
Plus, people taking Mounjaro lost up to 25 pounds.
Even Oprah revealed she's taking the medicine, too, as a maintenance tool. She called it a gift.
For 25 years, making fun of my weight was national sport.
Which is why some people may be surprised by stories like this one.
Ozempic did not work for me. I tried it for about 5 months.
Like many medications, Ozempic and Mounjaro for diabetes and Wegovy and Zepbound for obesity are not 100% effective. A new report by the Wall Street Journal cites doctors who say roughly 10 to 15% of people who try the drugs are considered non-responders and lose less than 5% of their body weight. In statements to NBC News, drug companies Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly point out that obesity has a number of possible factors, and their medications, while often successful, are just one option for doctors. But patients still come in with high expectations and are sometimes disappointed by the lack of results.
When we see a patient who has not responded, we go back to the basics of obesity medicine. We start talking about their diet. We move on to movement and physical activity. Then we look at whether there's anything else we can do with their medication.
There are multiple factors that could explain why the drugs known as GLP-1s don't work as well for everyone, from genetics and metabolic differences to a person's weight loss history. Other medications patients are taking can also counter the effects. And then there are patients who don't lose any weight at all, although medical professionals are not sure why. Doctors say it's important to remember obesity is a disease and that these drugs, while remarkable, are not a silver bullet for everyone.
It's not easy to lose weight, and we need every tool in our toolbox. And that includes diet and physical activity and medications when needed.
The drug companies and doctors point out that these drugs do, in fact, work for the majority of people battling diabetes and obesity. So now researchers are studying the reasons behind different responses to the medications. I mean, guys, 85 to 90% success rate, which is what we're talking about here, is pretty remarkable for any medication.
That's incredible. And a reminder that the folks battling obesity and diabetes, they should be the priority right now, too. So
absolutely. That's a good point, Joe.
All right. Stephanie, thanks so much.
Thank you. Well, in other health news, a dairy worker in Texas is being treated for bird flu after coming in contact with cows, according to state health officials.
The infection is tied to the recent discovery of the virus in dairy cows in 5 states. Health officials say the person infected is being treated with an antiviral drug.
For more on this, we are now joined by Dr. Ashish Jha, Dean at the Brown School of Public Health and former White House COVID-19 response coordinator. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us, Doctor. So Texas health officials say the infected person only reported symptom was eye redness. So just tell us exactly what bird flu is and what the symptoms are that we should be aware of in addition to that.
Sure. And good morning, and thanks for having me here. So bird flu has been around forever. It mostly is in birds. That's why we call it bird flu. Every once in a while, we see it go into a different species, sometimes mammals. We've seen it in bears and seals. First time ever that we're seeing it in dairy cows, certainly here in the United States. Occasionally, we see this when animals get infected and humans come in contact with it, whether it's a sick bird or a sick cow, they can also pick up the infection. It's a pretty typical flu-like infection. The reason it's scary is that in the past, when humans have gotten infected with this bird flu, they've gotten quite sick. So thankfully, in this case, the dairy workers got pretty mild symptoms, and obviously we hope he recovers quickly.
No kidding. So in 2022, a prison inmate in a work program got it while working at a Colorado poultry farm. What should people who work on farms be on the lookout for while handling animals, just to make sure that they don't get infected, especially now that we are starting to see it in more cows across the country?
Yeah, so the key here is really about people who are handling animals, right? And the issue is you have to have a very good strategy for handling sick animals, cows that are sick. Right now we don't have a great sense of what the mode of transmission is. We think it was probably from touching something that was infected, and so obviously wearing gloves, hand washing really vigorously. Those are really important things. We don't think this is respiratory in terms of how it's spreading from cows to humans, but we don't know. And so there's at least some evidence that wearing a mask around sick animals, around sick birds, could potentially also be helpful. But there's just a lot to sort out. And thankfully, we haven't seen a lot of human cases yet. So we don't have all of the information right now.
So how concerned should we be? Should humans be about the virus? If we were to see it more, can it be passed from person to person?
Yeah, well, so that's always the thing that we worry about. And we have thankfully not seen any evidence of human-to-human transmission, people-to-people transmission. That's when it becomes much more of a problem. So if you're a normal person out there, nothing to worry about. The milk supply is safe. That's not a concern. I think people can go about and living their lives. For those of us in public health who track this stuff, it's a concerning situation because we haven't seen it in dairy cows before. And what we care about, what I care about, is making sure we contain it and that we don't see a lot more cow-to-human transmission. That's when it's going to become a bit more concerning. But one case, so far, not a major concern. And for most people, go about your daily life, do the things that matter, and you should not be worried about it, at least not right now.
I'm a journalist, so my brain's going to go to the worst case scenario here. If we start to see any issues with person-to-person contact, I mean, does the federal government have a plan? Is this something they're like, okay, if this happens, this is what we're going to do to try and stop the spread?
Absolutely. So when I was at the White House, we spent a lot of time, I was focusing on COVID, but we were also thinking about these other viruses. The White House continues to be very focused on a strategy here. Good news is we have vaccines against this specific type of influenza. We have it in stock. We can make those available for workers, obviously for healthcare workers. Again, none of that is necessary right now, but if it goes to that worst case scenario you laid out, those strategies exist. We also have treatments that ought to work against this. And again, I say ought to work because we haven't had to test it, because we haven't seen this a lot in people, but we have good reasons to believe it. So we are in good shape in terms of being prepared, but obviously all of us hope that we don't need to roll those out.
Really good information. We can all keep calm for now, it sounds. Dr. Ashish Jha, thank you so much. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Coming up, a March Madness rematch that truly lived up to the hype.
Yeah, after the break, Caitlin Clark and her Iowa Hawkeyes punching their tickets to the Final Four after a nail-biter of a match against LSU. We've got the highlights as the tournament really heats up. That's up next.
Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice is speaking out for the first time since that wild high-speed car accident in Dallas over the weekend. NBC News correspondent Priscilla Thompson has the latest.
Rising NFL star Rashee Rice breaking his silence about this wild high-speed crash reportedly involving one of his cars. A statement released by Rice's attorney says his thoughts are with everyone impacted by Saturday's accident, adding that the Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver is cooperating with local authorities and will take all necessary steps to address this situation responsibly. Police say this Lamborghini and Corvette in these photos from TMZ Sports caused the collision, both speeding down the expressway when they lost control, hitting 4 other vehicles. The Dallas Morning News, citing law enforcement officials, reports one of the vehicles is believed to be registered or leased to Rice. But investigators are still trying to identify suspects responsible for the dangerous 6-car crash. Dallas police confirming they have now spoken with members of legal counsel, but have not conducted interviews with potentially involved individuals.
How common is it to not have interviewed any suspects days after an accident like this?
Well, often it can take quite a bit of time. People have the right to representation, and that doesn't mean they're automatically going to engage in an interview.
According to authorities, the occupants of the speeding vehicles left the scene and were seemingly captured on this bystander's video.
You guys all right? Yeah, that's it. Where are you guys heading? You guys all right? Yeah. You gotta get up there, bro. Good. You guys just gonna leave it?
Mark Lenahan is a lawyer representing one of the crash victims.
Everybody's shocked. They walk right through the crowd of the people that they've hurt. Don't ask anybody if anybody's been hurt. Don't ask if they need any help. Nobody calls 911, and they just walk away.
Now, with Rice's reputation on the line, the Kansas City Chiefs president on KCMO Talk Radio weighing in.
We'll get to the bottom of it. We'll gather the facts, and then we'll react accordingly.
Our thanks to Priscilla Thompson for that report. Dallas police are still asking anyone with information to come forward. So far, the NFL is not commenting. Financial headlines now. Some big news from GE making big changes on Wall Street.
CNBC's Savannah Hanau joins us with that and more money news. Savannah, good morning.
Hey, Savannah. Good morning, Joe. Yeah, so General Electric has completed its breakup into 3 companies, marking the end of an era for the industrial conglomerate Pioneer. The former parent company of NBC Universal will begin trading on the New York Stock Exchange as 2 separate entities, aerospace and energy. And the move comes over a year after its healthcare business began trading on the NASDAQ. Now, This move culminates CEO Larry Culp's efforts to breathe life into the company after the 2008 financial crisis nearly bankrupted its most profitable business, GE Capital, among other struggles. Google has agreed to distort billions of records of web browsing data collected when users were in incognito mode. This is part of a proposal to settle a class action lawsuit. The settlement will also require more disclosure about how Google collects information in the private browsing mode. Now, if approved, it could apply to 136 million people. And McKinsey is making a unique offer to some of its staff. Take 9 months' pay and walk away. Bloomberg reports the consulting firm is offering the buyout along with career coaching services and other resources to some employees in the UK. And it comes after McKinsey warned some U.S. staffers they were running out of time to win promotions. Consulting firms have been trimming headcount, delaying start dates for new employees, and slowing the pace of hiring over the past year due to declining demand from clients, guys.
All right, Savannah, thank you so much.
Well, for more on the high-profile game that exceeded expectations, we're joined by sports writer and author of Loving Sports, When They Don't Love You Back. Love that title. Kavitha Davidson. Kavitha, thanks for joining us this morning. So if you can even put into words, give us your take on the game and what impressed you most about Caitlin Clark, who just keeps impressing us, but also, for that matter, her rival, LSU's Angel Reese.
Yeah, I mean, what more is there really to say about Caitlin Clark? The thing about this game, which was obviously a rematch of last year's title game, was that it lived all the way up to the hype, and there was a lot of it. I mean, it was a total back and forth game. The pacing was incredible. Obviously, everybody knows about Caitlin Clark's incredible scoring prowess, but you also got to see, if anyone hasn't watched her during the regular season, her mighty passing prowess. You know, she had two teammates next to her who were scoring 20 points. You know, you can not shut down Caitlin Clark, but when she's assisting the ball, I believe she had 12 assists. That's really what you see there. And Angel Reese, I mean, this is also a generational talent, and we might have seen her walk off the court for the last time before declaring for the WNBA draft. We don't know that yet, but it really was a matchup for the ages. And I felt a little bit bad for Haley Van Lith, who was put on guarding Caitlin Clark, but it was an incredible game all around.
I think a lot of folks are thinking, okay, maybe the final is going to be Iowa, South Carolina. But before we even get to that, Iowa's got UConn. UConn is, of course, a legendary program in women's college. They've kind of flown under the radar a little bit this year. Could they upset Iowa?
It's an interesting matchup because you have another generational talent in Paige Beckers, who, her freshman year in 2021 was one of the greatest breakout freshman years that we've ever seen. And then the last 2 years have been hampered by injury. But UConn, as you mentioned, Gina Auriemma, legendary coach, this is their 23rd Final Four. UConn played yesterday, as they've played most of this tournament, really down with injuries. They had 5 season-ending injuries during the regular season. They had 2 players on the bench. And what they've been able to pull out in this tournament, they said we were not even supposed to be here, really is a testament to their leadership and their maturity, both from Paige Beckers and from Gina Auriemma.
So then the other Final Four matchup, Joe just mentioned one of them. It's going to feature top-seeded South Carolina facing NC State. What do you think? Who do you see winning that one? And then ultimately, would stack up against Caitlin Clark in that event?
Well, South Carolina, obviously, you have a dynasty basically under Coach Dawn Staley, who is, kind of the GOAT. You have a formidable point guard in Camilo Cardozo, who just declared for the draft yesterday. The Gamecocks have such incredible depth. I believe they averaged 34 points off the bench, and their real strength is that they're deadly late in games. They outscore opponents by a wild clip in the second half of games. But don't count out NC State. They had 4 wins in the regular season against top 5 teams by double digits. This is a team, led by Zaza James, another formidable guard that has shown that they can play with the number 1 ranked teams. So this will be another matchup, I think, that we'll be looking forward to.
Kavitha, what has this tournament meant for women's basketball?
Yeah, I'd like to point out that it's only been 3 years since the NCAA wouldn't let the women's tournament use the March Madness branding, and I think that they're seeing that how much of a mistake that was. Last year we saw 10 million people tune into the title game. We are seeing gangbusters, records-breaking ratings this year. Obviously a lot of that is driven by national interest in Caitlin Clark, but you've also got stars like Angel Reese and Flau'jae Johnson and Ann Paige Beckers and Juju Watkins. You know, this really has been the year of the freshmen. So it's been incredible to see, but I also won't overstate that, you know, ESPN and the tournament producers have been doing their jobs finally on giving ancillary program and proper studio shows and all of the kinds of support and marketing efforts that the men's game get too. And you're really seeing it pay off here. People want to watch the women play.
They certainly do. It's so cool to see. Kavitha Davidson, thank you for joining us. That was fun. Coming up, we're bringing you the latest and greatest from the Great White Way with our new original series, Curtain Call.
After the break, my conversation with the stars of The Notebook on Broadway. Yes, that Notebook. It's a new musical that naturally has audiences turning on the waterworks. Joy Woods and Ryan Vasquez join me next. Stay with us. This is Morning News Now.
Welcome back. This one's wild. A 2-pound object that came from space hit a house in Florida and is now being investigated by NASA. Alejandro Otero says the mysterious object almost hit his son when it crashed through his 2-story home in Naples. The space junk consisted of depleted batteries from the International Space Station attached to a cargo pallet. Well, a home security camera captured the moment of the crash. NASA says the video will be an important piece of its investigation. According to his social media, Otero says he is waiting for the responsible agencies to repair the damages to his home. There's something new to be scared about.
Yeah, how do you
space junk?
file that with your insurance?
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Savannah.
Good point, yeah.
Let's end this hour with the Curtain Call, your front row seat to Broadway and beyond. Grab your tissues because this morning we are talking about The Notebook, the beloved 2004 movie, which was inspired by the best-selling 1996 novel, is now a musical on Broadway. The show, of course, tells the tale of Allie and Noah, a tear-jerking love story that spans so many generations. Each character in the show is played by 3 different actors. And this morning, we are joined by the middle versions of Allie and Noah. Joy Woods and Ryan Vasquez are here to talk about the show. To be clear, middle, not middle-aged. They're far too young for that.
Give it some time.
It is so good to have you with us. I love the show so much. Here's one of my favorite details about the show. If you go to the little kiosk, they sell T-shirts, they sell tote bags, and they sell little boxes of Kleenex for $5. That speaks volumes, doesn't it?
You will need them. Yes. Yeah. People laugh. They like to make memes out of it, but by the end of the show, the box is empty.
Yeah, maybe you need 2 boxes. How does it feel to do a show? I mean, I'm sure you could hear the people crying when you're up there, right? I mean, what is it like doing a show that just touches people on an emotional level so deeply?
I think because I've been touched so deeply by the show, it feels really good to see that other people are feeling the same. It's like almost a chorus of sniffles throughout the last number until...
Yeah. I've never been in a theater where people have been so universally moved throughout the run, like a long run even, and it's a reminder that not all tears are sad, I think. Like, it's not a relentlessly sad show. You're moved because of the examination of a full life that has this sort of roller coaster of emotions. It's really cool.
That's a good way to put it. They're not crying because they're sad. Of course, you two are part of the iconic scene from the movie, which is the rain scene, which everyone knows. And the question was, well, can you do that on Broadway? And the answer is, you can do it on Broadway, right? The rain comes down, you guys are drenched. First of all, how do you sing and perform while getting drenched in rain like that, Joy?
Well, luckily, we don't have to sing, or else we'd be choking on water. I can speak for myself very confidently when I say that. But there actually are we allowed to give away our secrets?
Yeah.
There are curtains of rain that are on either side of us, so we can choose whether or not we want to get wet. And it's warm, so we're safe and we're comfortable, and we can just...
Be there, yeah. It's really cool too, because as actors, you're always sort of suspending disbelief to an extent, and to have the real water pouring down on you, like, it really takes care of a lot of that. It's the adrenaline and the sort of reality of it is really neat. So.
They dry you off very quickly, I'm assuming, after that, so you can resume the show.
Shout out to our dressers.
Yeah. Unlike the movie, you guys are singing. The movie is written by Ingrid Michaelson, who so many people know. What does music add to this story, Ryan?
Yeah, it really sings. I mean, like, the romance of it and the lushness of the story is really served by the music, but also, I mean, that's originally what musicals are, right? Like, you reach a point where the emotional climax is so deep that you need to sing about it, and that music comes through. So Ingrid did such a beautiful job of writing a score that's both catchy but is also a real score, like a fluid piece. So I'm hoping that it encourages more pop artists to write for the theater, because it's really bringing folks into the theater that may not have been there before.
You have some Ingrid Michaelson fans in the crowd as well.
We do.
So,
and on stage.
And on stage.
And on stage, well, there you go, of course, especially after this. One of the things I love about this show is what one of the directors calls the color-conscious casting, which is the fact that older Allie is played by a white actor, older Noah is played by a black actor. How significant is that? What does that mean for where Broadway is right now?
And you know what? I've been asked that question pretty recently, and it didn't occur to me that I didn't think about the colorblind casting until people started bringing it up as a thing. It just makes sense that anybody in their life has either lost something that they want back or like to look back on their lives, and the story of these two people is so universal that the thread of them looking the same throughout their life, especially in a theater environment, didn't occur to me as something that could be problematic. It's universal.
Yeah, and I'll say of course, to re-examine or retool a show to make sure that folks in the audience can see themselves is an important element, but also not losing the authenticity of the people bringing themselves to these roles. I think what's really neat is that in the three couples, you're seeing three individual couples with three individual dynamics, 6 individual people bringing their whole selves to it. So from sort of both ends of the conversation, I think we're really celebrating the show, celebrating each other, celebrating the community at large. I'm really proud of it.
And you all do that so well. We only have about 40 seconds left here, but I do want to ask, for those who've read the book or seen the movie, they know dementia is a huge part of this, and that touches so many people's lives. I'm guessing you hear from people in the audience who talk about that and what it means to them. Is that right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's not something that you see represented on stage a ton. Even folks in their later stages of life, you don't really see as represented in musicals, especially big shows, commercial projects. So it's been neat in that way too, just to be able to explore something that I think is really affecting folks and touching folks in a really deep way.
All right. Ryan Vasquez, Joy Woods, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on this show. It's absolutely incredible. The Notebook is playing now at the Schoenfeld Theater in Manhattan. That is going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
A great conversation. The news continues right now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.